Hello all, this is Railway Stories 123 here, and this is the second in a series of videos in which I'll be answering questions submitted to me on my Q&A announcement video. Now, before we get into it, I do want to apologise again for such a delay. It's been several months since the first video I did. I'd like to say it's just laziness on my part, which I'm not gonna lie, it was, but I've had some personal stuff going on that sort of kept me from doing these videos. But it's back now, and I think you've waited long enough, so let's not waste any time. This is part 2, where I'll be answering questions regarding the Railway series. So the first question is, who is your favourite Railway series character? I have to say Edward, same as the TV series. What is your favourite book? I've had time to think about this over the last few months. I was torn between Enterprising Engines and Duke the Lost Engine, but now I definitely can say that Enterprising Engines is my favourite Railway series book. It's one of the few children's books that really tugged at my heartstrings, made me laugh out loud, I could feel the tension and felt anxious all in one. So this book was published back in 1968, and it gives an current account of the changing landscape of British railways at a time when it was coming to the end of the age of steam engines. They were being withdrawn and being cut up to make way for the up-and-coming diesels, and this book was not only a mischievous dig at that, but also, in my opinion, it was one of the darkest books of the series, because it dealt with the real-life issues of the beaching cuts. People say that the Railway series isn't just for kids, and yeah, while it is aimed for kids for sure, you can read this book and be like, okay, I can sort of see where you're coming from. This book is more than a simple children's book, and I would argue that never was a simple children's book. This book is proof that the determination of individuals to have a dream and turn it into reality, like the preserved heritage railway, was not ever the pipe dream it was described at the time of writing this. It serves to remind us of the early days of railway preservation, the very real losses to Britain's landscape and everyday life. It reminds us of the sacrifices made, and that the determined efforts of a few select individuals were not in vain for preserving our railway history. So there's no doubt in my mind, and there never has been, that there was only one volume in the whole of the Railway series which was, well, enterprising. What is your favourite story? I would have to say Edward's Exploit. The book that the story is featured in, Mainline Engines, is almost like a celebration for Edward. His influence is spread throughout the book, and it all builds up to the final story, Edward's Exploit. In it, he probably sustains the most severe injury ever depicted in the series, and he still manages to come out looking stronger than ever. A lesser engine would have just given up at this stage, and few would blame them for it, but not Edward. Though crippled, he does not let this overcome him, and his body may be damaged, but he's determined all the same. Ultimately, I think this story, and Edward himself, has much to offer young readers. There are so many positive morals to be drawn here, like old age does not mean that you're weak. Always try your best. Don't let events or others get you down, and you can achieve anything with enough determination. So yeah, Edward's exploit, that's my favourite. What is your favourite location? I think I'd have to refer to my earliest answer, Tidmouth, or maybe pre-1925 Vicarstown. What is your favourite illustration? My favourite illustrations, plural, are both seen in Grandpuff. There are two illustrations that show Arsdale sheds over 20 years apart, and I never noticed that before, but when I discovered it, it just became so eerie to me. Who is your favourite illustrator? My favourite illustrators are Gunvor and Peter Edwards. Their attention to detail that they bring to the books is so amazing to me. They did such a great job at capturing a realistic working railway and having the scenes narrated through the engine's expressions. Least favourite character? I'm torn between Spam Can and Victoria. Spam Can because his characterization has been done already. You know, Diesel comes to Sodor. Diesel talks about, being better than the Steamies, ultimately fails. Goodbye, Spam Can. Never seen again. And Victoria because she's just too much of a convenience character. What is your least favourite book? James the Red Engine. I didn't really like it because it was sort of the same as the book before, Thomas the Tank Engine. An engine's trying to prove himself, fails a couple times, then has a redemption arc, and he comes out on top. And we've basically seen that already in the previous book. Even Audrey said he didn't like it because he had to rush it due to the deadline put to him by the publishers. And, if he had more time on it, then I'd probably be saying something different about the book, but, they didn't. So, what is your least favourite story? Again, picking from my least favourite book, James the Red Engine, I'd have to say the first one, James and the Top Hat. Who is your least favourite illustrator? Stephen Lings. For those who don't know, he illustrated Thomas and the Hurricane. Apparently, when he was doing his drawings, he tried to replicate Christopher's illustrator, Clive Spong's work. It really doesn't show. There are just some illustrations that he did that look like the Railway series equivalent to All Engines Go, and there are some that look like the engines have aged nearly 40 years. So, yeah, it's my least favourite. What is your favourite railway? Definitely the North Western Railway, just because 90% of the series takes place on that railway. What is your least favourite railway? Arsdale, I suppose. Who is your favourite narrator? Willie Rushton, hands down. He doesn't rush his narrations, but he doesn't drone on either. He's calm yet extremely expressive, so yeah, he's my favourite. Who is your least favourite narrator? Johnny Morris. I like the voices he does for the engines, but he just takes too long in his stories, and the improv that he does is just a bit nutty to me. So, sorry to anyone who's a big fan of his, but yeah, he's my least favourite. What is your favourite piece of the Railway series lore? Or I'd have to say that Copper and Thomas in Trouble was so hated by the Farquhar community that they named a pub after Toby, the tram engine that frightened him with a bell. Later, he was forcibly transferred away after he finds the vicar, the chairman of the local magistrates, and his own sergeant, and they will all find a halfpenny, which is about 20 pence nowadays, which, if you think about it, ain't worth much. So it begs the question, why would you even do it? But without him, Toby would never have come to Sodor. So I guess it all worked out for the best. What is one piece of the Railway series lore you would consider changing? Okay, so when Gordon had to go around the loot line in James and the Express, well, Christopher later said that there is indeed no loot line on Sodor, which, I give a pass on that, because at that stage, Wilbert never created a map yet, so he was sort of in the early stages of figuring out the geography and the workings of the Northwestern Railway. But yeah, if I were to change one thing, I would definitely give it a loop line so the story makes sense. Who is your favourite human character? The second Fat Controller, Charles. Who is your favourite non-rail character? Caroline. What is your favourite Audrey layout? His Tidmouth layout. I just love that layout, and the fact that Audrey made a little timetable to go with it, that's that bit is, something I would do. What is your favourite Northwestern Railway branch? The Farquhar branch. What is your least favourite Northwestern Railway branch? I think the Kirk Ronan and the Norrenby branch. And I would say those two only because it's never been seen in the books. Who is your favourite visiting engine? Stepney, the Bluebell engine. He just has the most interesting backstory. Who is your least favourite visiting engine? Old Stuck Up. It's basically just another version of Class 40. He comes to Sodor, gets humbled by an incident, and off he goes, and we never see him again. I'll give him points, though, for being the only diesel to have a major crash. Something we've never really seen. Which book did you read first? Now, I think it was Tank Engine Thomas Again. That's my earliest memory of the series. Have you read Christopher Audrey's books? Of course I have, as any Railway series fan should. Silly question. Who is your favourite non-standard gauge engine? Duke, the Lost engine. His journey and character arc in this self-titled book is the most fascinating to me. And last question before we end the video, would you want a 43rd book? Okay, although I would love for there to be another Railway series book, I wouldn't be too mad if another one doesn't actually get made, The 42nd one, the last one, Thomas and his friends, it ended on a good note. The book presented a golden opportunity, not so much for itself, but for the television show. By using the title Thomas and His Friends, a line taken directly from the show's theme song ever since the 8th season, it closes the bridge between the two worlds. It passed the baton from the Audrey family writing about Sodor to the television writers.
Yeah.
It truly is the swan song the Railway series needed, and I'm thankful that is its final chapter instead of many others earlier. But the book series did have to end sooner or later, and in some respects, they may have been overdue that ending. Still, I thank Christopher for writing it, especially when he did. I can't imagine the series ending in any other way. He was right in his final words. There will never again be anything like it anywhere. And that's it for this part of the video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. And be sure to join me next time when I answer your questions regarding my channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Ta-da!